Hey everybody, Charles Gindy coming back with you for another playtest video. This week, we saw your comments last week, and we thought about some ways to improve it. This week, instead of bringing a brew, brought an old friend, Blue White Flash. All right, guys, a lot of you are already familiar with this deck, but to go over it again, it's standard Blue White Flash, the Augur Bolas, Restoration Angel, Snapcaster Mage. I know over the last couple of seasons, people have adapted this to Blue White Green and Blue White Red, but I actually have had some success with just Blue White again, going back to the Runechanter's Pike. This is a very good win condition right now. People are playing less Abrupt Decays, and even though Putrefy is a new card from Dragon's Maze that people are playing, we can still just slow roll our Pike until it's big enough to kill them, and generally we will be able to kill them with that. Since we're playing so many instants and sorceries, that makes Augur Bolas very good also, and our Restoration Angel obviously turns on both of our creatures. Once we move past that, we go over to our counter suite. Now this week we have 2 Syncopates, 2 Dismiss, and 2 Rewinds. A little bit about my choices. Dissipate and Rewind are pretty standard counterspells that people are playing. Syncopate is not. People don't really expect it anymore, and that's one of the reasons I do really like it. One thing to mention is it's very good on the play and not very good on the draw. So when you're sideboarding, you want to make sure when you're on the draw to take this out, and in game 3s, if you end up losing, go back and actually board this back in. Renounce the Guild is our new card. It's very, very powerful. It's been one of the reasons I really like my deck. It kills a multitude of problem creatures for our deck. Voice of Resurgence, Geist of St. Traft, Assemble the Legion, Olivia, Fulcrum Aristocrat, Cartel Aristocrat. Those are just to name some. There's also Sire of Insanity and Gore-Clan Rampager, all the little Burning Tree emissaries. This thing kills a lot of cards right now, and I think people aren't giving it enough respect. And the biggest thing is it's an instant. So we can always cast it on their turn and stick with our game plan. The one Supreme Verdict, lots of you are familiar with that. We can get it with our Augur Bolas, draw into it. Just need a sweeper. Then Sphinx's Revelation, our way to actually impact the game. We trade 1 for 1 all throughout the game, cycling, building up lands, then we draw 3 or 4 cards, and hopefully we can close out from there. An interesting thing here is 3 Thought Scours instead of the full 4. I had the full 4 for a while and was only playing 23 lands, but with the rise of Acidic Slime, I wanted a 24th land, and Thought Scour was the card I felt was the least powerful in my deck. I also find myself Thought Scouring them a lot of the times against the non-reanimator matchups. Since our threat density is really low, we want to not Thought Scour ourselves until we have our Pike or we have our Morlun Haunt. We don't want to get rid of our big threats, similar to when Blue White Red came back right after Avacyn restored and people were playing the one Runechanter's Pike and never wanted to Thought Scour their Pike away. Then we have 2 Think Twice, pretty standard, just card drawing, flashes back, very solid. 4 Azorius Charm. These are really big. Also with our Thought Scours, we can put a troublesome creature on top and then Thought Scour it away. It just cycles, draw a card. Works excellent with Snapcaster Mage. And then another interesting one of Unsummon. This card has actually been very powerful. It kills a lot of cards like Advent of the Worm or the Voice of Resurgence tokens. It's also good at just like picking up a Snapcaster Mage to flash back a counter spell, or if you pick up a Snapcaster Mage and flash back a Revelation, pick up a Snapcaster Mage, flash back anything. This card has just been very powerful, and I would consider a second. I don't know exactly what I would cut, but I've been very happy with that. And then the mana base is pretty straightforward. We play the 8 duels that we can play. We're playing 2 Morlun Haunts, which kind of seems like a lot, but like I said, with Acidic Slime, I don't want to play my 1 Morlun Haunt naked and then it get Acidic Slimed. And then we have 9 islands and 5 plains. 5's a lot, since we normally don't want 2. But we have some double white in the sideboard, more Supreme Verdicts, so we definitely need the extra white mana source. Otherwise, I think I'd only be playing like 3 planes or possibly 4. But, And that's pretty much it. Now let's take it over to the sideboard. All right, and for our sideboard, like I mentioned, we have two more Supreme Verdicts, so we go up to the full 3 against all the aggro decks like red-green and green-red and aristocrats. We have 2 Detention Spheres, more of a catch-all. They're important to note. Most of the time I'm boarding a Detention Sphere, I'm boarding out Renounce the Guilds, since it's obviously not very good in conjunction, but there is the occasion where you have to leave them both, like against the aristocrats. This card is actually really good against the aristocrats, kills all their tokens, and it's important to note you can cast the Detention Sphere, put the ability on the stack targeting a non-multicolored permanent, and then cast your Renounce the Guilds as an instant, sacking this to remove their creature permanently. Then we have a few more counter spells. We have Dispel and Negate. I think they're the 2 really important counter spells for any of the blue-white mirrors, blue-white-green, blue-white-red. These counter spells are way better than our normal counter spells that Syncopate, Dissipate. So we're taking out Syncopates for Dispels normally and boarding out like Renounce the Guilds for Negates. Clone's another card that's really good against the Junk Reanimator decks, but is also fine against Jund. Copies Thragtusk, copies Olivia to kill that, and against the big deck of Junk Reanimator, you can obviously copy their Angel of Serenity and start a loop going with your 2 clones if you get so lucky. Or you can just, use the clone, put the ability Angel of Serenity on the stack, and unsummon it. Now, Purify the Grave is right now my graveyard hate of choice for the Junk Reanimator deck, since most of the time you're just getting rid of one thing. But with the Unbearable Rights target. But with the rise of that Immortal Servitude deck, I might want to change these to Tormod's Crypts, but we haven't seen that deck get popularized yet, so for right now, Purify the Grave will suffice. Then we have Jace Memory Adept. This card's been very powerful. Anytime you're boarding this in, you're boarding it in against the blue-white black mirror, like the Esper mirror mostly. It's also good against Junk Reanimator, any deck that's milling themselves, because you can steal games where you only have to mill them twice, where they're not prepared to actually deal with that. And the last thing is Curse of Echoes, another really good card for the mirror matchup. It's excellent against the Bant Flash deck, since they can't even cast their creatures, their Advent of the Worms, without you getting one also. So this card hasn't been talked about a lot, but I think it's really, really powerful. And that's it for my sideboard. Now we're going to have a fun interactive match here with Kenny Caster. He's playing Jund.